You are verily welcome to the second segment of the discourse on nationalism and you. And we are still cruising on your flagship program this morning on ITV, this 23rd day of December 2021. I am your host, Ebenezer Oyetakin, and we are going to be taking a look at the topic, the proper and legal way of effecting arrest. The proper and legal way of effecting arrest. In the recent time, there have been controversies about some certain arrests and some others and the rest of it. So we're going to be taking all of this together in this segment. And with me to take a look at this is a legal practitioner, a human rights activist, a socio-political activist, Barrister Obioma Eze-Nwobodo.
Thank you for
You are most welcome to our studio. And in the characteristic of this program, I return to you. Nationalism and you.
It is my duty and responsibility to build Nigeria.
Very well. Very well. It is our duty and our responsibility to build Nigeria. Both here in ITV, our guests and our watchers from home, we are all community of nation builders.
Exactly.
The most recent arrest took place in Imo State. That of Mr. Uche Nwosu, a former gubernatorial candidate of the Action Alliance. That arrest took place inside church. And some of those who took a look at it said it looked like a commando sting operation and things of that nature. As a lawyer, your take on this?
My take on the arrest of Uche Nwosu, a politician in Imo State, at St. Peter's Anglican Church, Eziama Obaire, at Nkwere local government of Imo State on Sunday, to me, it's not a proper arrest. It was more like a kidnapping, or it was more like a kidnapping incident that is a daily occurrence in Nigeria today, or more or less an abduction by the security forces. It is not the way the Constitution and external laws in Nigeria has prescribed for a citizen to be arrested. That's why you saw the criticism, the condemnation that followed it, because it's something that has to be condemned, not because we are a fan of Uche Nwosu, but because we want things to be done properly. Because we know that if it happens to him, an elite like him, it can also happen to other people as well, although it has been happening to other people. So that's why we continue to condemn it, so that the police will embrace the external, especially the Constitution and also the Police Act, the Police Establishment Act of 2020, that stipulates how arrest should be done. Because before you arrest somebody, the Constitution has stated it that the person is a human being. So you must accord him his basic right, his constitutional right. You should treat him humanely. You should accord him his that human right stipulated in the Constitution. Whereby you arrest somebody, you handcuff him, you push him inside a van, you take a picture of him. I mean, it's an abuse. It's an abuse, and such a person, if he wants, can resort to the court for fundamental human rights in a fundamental human rights cause to press his charges against the police. Because the mode of taking or arresting somebody is that you should touch him. As a police officer, you should touch or you should touch the person or take the person into custody, especially when the person is not resisting arrest. Then there won't be any need to touch the person. But if the person is resisting arrest, then you should touch the person. Then after arresting somebody, maybe taking him to the police station.
Mean by touch?
For arrest, we mean touch. Touching means trying to take hold of the person, restraining him. Because arrest is a restraint of freedom, because every human being has that right of freedom of movement and what have you. So once you touch touches the person, you are trying to restrain him. Assuming he's moving, you are touching him, meaning you want to stop him from his movement. So that's what we call touching in that paradigm. So once you touch him, that means you have restrained him his right to movement. And if you touch him and the person is not resisting arrest, there's no need for you to exert force in trying to compel him or in trying to take him into custody. And also, the person also has a right to be told what offense he has committed, especially once the offense wasn't committed there and then, or he's not being pursued for an offense he has committed. What I mean is that if a crime is committed and somebody, maybe an accused, is being pursued and apprehended, there is no need for you to tell him why he's being apprehended. But if a man is sitting in his house or in a church or this and you want to arrest him, you should tell him, because he's so oblivious of why you want to arrest him. So that's why you should tell him why you are arresting him. And if you take him to, and even in the course of that arrest, you should accord him his basic right. You shouldn't torture him. You shouldn't treat him in a degrading manner. You should accord him that right as a human being that he is. And after you have taken him to the police station, you should also give him his right of silence, because that you have been taken to a police station doesn't mean you must speak. You have that basic right to say, I don't want to speak, or I will speak after I have met with my lawyer. Or if you don't have one, you have that right also to be given one or to be provided for one by the police. And also, they also have somebody that has been arrested or an accused also has that right of getting in touch with his family, or the police getting in touch with his family to inform them that, see, your person is in our custody. So these are the basic things that must be done for that constitutional provision to be said to have been satisfied. So with respect to Uche Nwosu, you see that all these things were not done. From the clip we saw how he was apprehended in a Gestapo manner, how a bullet was being fired here and there, and an innocent person could have been shot. So it had no atom of constitutionality, had no atom of civility. What we witnessed, we are speaking against it, as I said before, not because of Uche Nwosu, but because of the trend that has been imbibed by the police. Remember, these are one of the things that made the NSAS movement to take place last year. And we don't want such a thing again. And for us to say that we don't want such a thing again, that means we must press it upon the police to be humane and also to be civil in carrying out their duties.
You know, one of the areas of great concern in this arrest is that it took place right inside church. It took place right inside church. And in the church, you know, we have infants. We have babies. We have
old men.
All manner of people. We have old people, some of whom have never heard the sound of gun, except before. Now that and that kind of a thing. Could we have done it differently? Could the police that went for this to effect this arrest have done it differently? Led to them operating in such a manner that we are around to shoot inside and around court, around church.
They could have done it differently, because the person, once arrest is being done, you look at the person being arrested. It's not as if the person is a known bandit or terrorist or whatever. I mean, for goodness sake, whether you like him or not, he's a personality. And nothing stopped the police from inviting him first. Because if he had been invited, I believe he would have honored the invitation. But for police to come into the church I mean, it's a desecration of a place of worship in the first instance, and also to start shooting. I mean, in criminal parlance, is saying that it is better for one criminal to go scot-free than for innocent persons for 10 criminals to go scot-free than for one innocent person to be caught in the crossfire. So for them to come into the church and start firing bullets means that they do not have regard for human lives, that they do not have regard for civility, that they do not have regard for the rights of persons there, and also for the old men, for the children, and everybody there. Because had it been something tragic happened that day, fatal happened that day, what would have been the reason? And also, had it been that somebody didn't capture the whole incident in a camera, we might have said that it was the IPOB or ECN or whatever this thing that did it. So it was the whole thing that happened that day was tragic. It baffled the civil mind when we saw such a thing.
But don't you think? But don't you think that the police have their reasons to do that? Maybe they have been trailing him. Maybe he has been avoiding arrest. Maybe they have invited him, and he refused to concede to their invitations. If that happened, if they do it the way they did it, can you blame them?
Yes, that's why I say all these things are circumstantial. That's why I say before you make an arrest, you first of all look at the personality involved. Assuming there is an information that a terrorist is inside the church about to detonate a bomb, the police has to go in there and do something, whether it is a place of worship or not, because they want to secure lives. But once it has to do with politically exposed persons, you know, we know the politics behind all these things, the background politics behind all these things. If the police were up in their game, where were they when he was driving into the church? Why didn't they stop him at the gate to arrest him or on his way to the church? Why didn't they wait for the church service to end, maybe while he was driving out, then carry out the arrest? Why do it inside the church? And why shoot? Why scared the parishioners and everybody inside the church because we want to arrest one person? Was he in possession of any ammunition or dangerous weapon at that point in time? Okay, after the whole arrest, what happened? A day after or 2 days, they released him because the whole thing was shrouded in politics. I'm telling you, it's up about politics. I'm not interested in their political game. I'm not a fan of all of them there because they are just running down the state. I'm talking about all of them, but we are just talking about the arrest and the innocent persons that might that say for the grace of God, something fatal might have happened that day. They might have been caught in the crossfire. So for such a thing not to happen again, we shouldn't just talk about it. I think the Police Service Commission, the IG of Police, they need to investigate and punish those that are involved, whether in high places or in low places, because what happened that day was against all known procedure of carrying out arrest.
Just like you took it out of me, the next question I was going to ask you was that a day or two after you arrest this gentleman, you release him. One would have thought that the offense he committed will warrant him to be held incommunicado until all investigations are done. If you did the arrest in such a commando manner that embarrassed a whole congregant, scared old and babies, infants, then one would have thought that you have a concrete and infallible evidence that if we don't do it, if he gets out of the court or of the church, he might take the next available flight or exit road out of Nigeria or things of that nature and that kind of a thing. Your take on this?
You know, it has been a culture by the police, and I'm just looking up for a day that will have a Nigeria police that will be courageous enough and wise enough to stop all these things. Because you see the police effecting arrest before investigation. I mean, investigation should come first. After you have investigated a matter, then you will not pick the person. You pick him not to dump him, not to hold him incommunicado because it's against his right also. You picked him, maybe within 24 hours, you take him to court and start prosecuting him. That's how all these things are done in advanced countries, where you see the police walking. Maybe they will be on a trail of a person for years, investigating him. The person won't even know. When they will now grab the person, they must have gotten all the evidence they need. And you see the person will pre-bargain or will plead guilty, and you see the whole trial will go on smoothly. But here, they will arrest you. It's a kind of intimidation. It's not even to stop anything. I think it's a political matter. They are just using it as politics. And also, sometimes it is being used to defraud citizens, in the sense that they will arrest somebody, like what we are seeing these days. You see a young man that has a laptop or phone, the police will stop him, search him, arrest him, trying to intimidate him. It's just extortion. Sometimes it can be a means of extorting people, not that the end of justice is being targeted at. And all these things are what NSAS was meant to cure. And it's as if the SARS people are no more there. The police people are the ones that are going into the shoes to continue perpetrating all these atrocities. We hear all this kind of news every day. You see, there was a one that happened that even the police had to transfer the Bitcoin or whatever cryptocurrency that belonged to one person. There was a one I read the other day, yesterday, that they will just abduct somebody, take him to ATM, this thing, and take his money and what have you. All these things are not what the police is supposed to do. I mean, police is a police officer is somebody that you see, you feel confident, you know, you feel more secure. A police station is a place that even when you get into a city, you don't know where to lay your head. You can walk into any police station and they will offer you that security. But nowadays, it's as if when you see them, you get terrified, and it doesn't supposed to be so. We live in a hard times that we need to speak against this thing, and the people at the hands of authorities need to act on it. They need to act on it, not because of Uche Nwosu, because Uche Nwosu has his security details. He's one of the elite. He's not one of the the masses, if I may put it that way. But I'm talking about the masses who may not have that platform to bring up issues like this, who have suffered a lot of injuries, and there's nobody to speak for them. Those are the ones that we should be more concerned of.
You know, we're talking about this in order to civilize ourselves and our onlookers. We definitely knew that the Nigerian police is a large community. Few individuals among them can act in such a way that cast aspersions on that institution, but we know they are dignified institutions, and they are necessity because they are in charge of our internal security. That being said, the kind of arrest that took place in that place and the way and manner the man was immediately released so appeared as if it was a targeted embarrassment rather than an arrest that is intended. That is what Nigerian people are saying, that rather than an arrest that is intended to arrest, to address an issue of criminality or offense, it seems as if it is an arrest that is targeted as causing an embarrassment and things of that nature, because it was a thanksgiving for even her mother, as it was said, and things of that nature. This particular person have a residential address in Imo there, a residential address. He probably have an office that he can be traced to and things of that nature. Your take on this?
One thing about our criminal justice system is that even the court doesn't just go against an accused. If a complaint is brought before a court, sometimes the court will issue a summon. That summon is invitation.
Okay.
You know, I say we must learn how to treat ourselves as human beings, not as animals. So the court can summon you to come. It is when you refuse to come that the court can now give a warrant for your arrest. When it comes to the police has also, as part of our civil community, can also issue an invitation to an accused to report to the police to answer to complaint. So it is when the person has refused to answer, to report to the police that he can be arrested. You know, arrest has to do with force. So on this Uche Nwosu, I don't think, because he has said it, I'm not his spokesperson, but he said he didn't receive any invitation. So, like what I say, it was just political. And it's so unfortunate that we live in a time where politicians use the police to settle their scores. And it has to do with the person at the higher pedestal, using it to suppress those below him. And it is uncalled for. The police is not even for the federal government, it's not even for the state, it's not even for the big men. The police is for everybody. So that's what that's the circumstances surrounding the arrest in question, that it was just a political arrest, is a kind of a means to achieve political end. Because if you, from the report I read, they said they wasted about 100 bullets in the course of the arrest. 100 bullets, you know what it means. It's as if you're arresting a terrorist, a very dangerous terrorist. But this person, I don't think he's a terrorist. I'm not defending him. But if you have expended so much resources arresting the person, I mean, we expected that you would take him to court to prosecute him for a crime.
Well, the issue of wasting about 100 bullets can be an over-exaggeration, because wherever you waste about 100 bullets, there will be casualty, and we do not have any report of any casualty. But our concerns on this, our concerns about this is that we have a Nigerian police that can be regarded as one of the best police the world has, because whenever we go on intervention and keep peacekeeping, our police force and our security forces, they always come out excellent and things of that nature. And we know that they have a culture of norms and civilities that defines them and things of that nature. But incidentally, also, we have witnessed some out-of-place behaviors. The other day, it was Justice Peter Odili's wife and the rest of it, and the Justice of the Supreme Court, and the way and manner the whole things were gone about, caused an embarrassment. We want to see that both the Nigerian police force, that is considered a dignified institutions, they don't allow some certain people among them to cause embarrassment to them, nor embarrassment to the government, because we are in a democratic system and the rest of it. Taking all this in view, upon whose lap does it rest to effect these corrections in order to tailor our security forces on how, culture them on how to make a civilized arrest?
It rests on all of us. What we are doing here is part of it. I mean, we are mounting the pressure on the authorities concerned to do the right thing. Because when we are talking about this arrest, it's not just the police that can arrest. Even a human being, a civilian can also arrest. Even the DSS, the EFCC, we have been seeing all manner of arrests going on. So I think for it to be corrected is that those at the helms of affairs should note that they are there based on an act or a law creating them. And if you read through the laws, various laws creating them, you see how they should act. I mean, it is stipulated there, written in black and white. So, because sometimes these issues border on ignorance, because some of them may be ignorant of the procedure of effecting arrest. So I think they should be retrained on these issues, especially what issues that pertain to having a dealings with the civilian populace, because you must, whether you like it or not, you cannot function effectively if you do not have the support of the people. And having the support of the people is by abiding by the rules creating you. Once you do it, you see that the people are even the one that will be providing you with vital information. But once the people see you as a means of suppression, you act in a justifiable manner, trying to intimidate them and all these things, you see that they will be so uncomfortable with you. So once you effect your duties as has been stipulated by the laws, you will see that the people will embrace you, and you see we will have the kind of police force we want. This thing extends to the EFCC, to the DSS, and other security forces, because the rights of the people matters more than any other thing. The right of an innocent person, they are walking on the street, matters more than your own right pursuing a criminal. You can't say because you want to apprehend a criminal, you'll be shooting in the crowd. I mean, life is sacrosanct and there's no duplicate to it. So you must be careful, you must be professional in the way you handle things. In fact, it is even better for that criminal to escape than for you to injure another person. That's the way the law has made it. Because you're injuring an innocent person that doesn't know anything about what you are doing. So for us to have that kind of police, I think both the persons at the heads of affairs, as I have said before, the National Assembly, the President, even our judiciary, they also have a part to play.
What is the role of the National, what do you call it, Police Commission in this?
The Police Commission oversees the discipline of policemen. They are the ones that are saddled with that duty to discipline. They can dismiss, they can demote any police officer. So they should also look into it in conjunction with the IG of police, who is the main boss there. So once they come together and impress it on these people to act accordingly, you will see that they will act. You may mention of our police people excelling in abroad. Yes, maybe because that's a different environment. Because the essence of us not seeing that positive result that we so much desire, sometimes is because of the environment, the kind of people that they answer to. If the will is there, there must be a way. If the people at the heads of affairs have that will to give us the kind of police force we want, the 21st century police force, you see that we'll have the best. Because other countries that are having that kind of police force, they are human beings like us. But sometimes laxity and lack of will and unaccountability, like what happened in Imo State, I don't think anybody has been arrested because of it. I don't know whether it will be swept under the carpet. People should should answer for their actions to serve as a detriment to others. And once these things are done, you see that the society will purify by itself.
Yes, but some people says also that the environment, the Imo State environment, has been so electrified and accustomed to a Gestapo kind of attack that was preponderantly blamed on the IPOB or ESN and things of that nature. That was why when the police came into the church to effect that arrest, people thought maybe it were some people that disguised as police, that they were not police until police came up to own up and things of that nature. Don't you think that it is the atmosphere, the aggravated atmosphere of insecurity in Imo State that also, because police are not separate from our environment development in our environment, don't you think it is that informed that kind of
I don't think so. I don't think so, because the clip I watched, the policemen that came there, most of them were masked. They were masked. It is there. The evidence is there. So you ask yourself, why should a policeman be masked? Why effecting an arrest? Why? Why should a policeman be masked? Because if I see a masked police person arresting somebody, the assumption that would be that he's a kidnapper. Because I haven't seen where a policeman should be masked while effecting an arrest. A policeman should be seen, his face should be recognized because he's doing something legal. And once you are carrying out that kind of an arrest, unless you are telling me you are dealing with a terrible gang or say to you, so you don't want them to identify your face. But that wasn't the situation that day. Because you are dealing with a politically exposed person, unless you can come with evidence that this guy you were thinking of or talking about is so dangerous that they needed to mark so that his boys or whatever gang will not identify the police person. If not, why should you be marked? What signal are you sending? So that's the main issue. And also talking about the environment, if the environment is so hot, the police is there to cool it down. That's their duty, to cool it down, to make sure that it is reduced as to a minimal level. It is not for them to aggravate it or heighten it. So if the environment is there, that means the police has a lot of work to do. And telling me that you will come into a church, not even a church in a city or a town, it's a church in a rural area, and carry out that kind of an arrest. I mean, it's something else. And from the figures we got that the policemen were from the governors, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it shows you that the whole team were not well coordinated. And maybe they were not coming from a formal background. I mean, there was no formal backing to their action. So I don't want to go into that Uche Nwosu saga because, as I say, I'm not holding brief for him. But I mean, the whole thing, I'm talking about how it affects the society generally. I mean, essentially has done the spines of indigenous, especially the parishioners there that day. And when I saw it, I was amazed. I was shocked that such a thing could be happening in there. Because, I mean, the scenario we saw, how was it different from a kidnapping incident? How was it different? Because the whole thing, there wasn't any. It was as if it was as if the whole thing was coming from a movie. Because I haven't seen such a thing before. A policeman arresting an individual, not that he was armed, not that he was perpetrating any crime. Somebody in a church, you now went into the church in a gestable manner, shooting gun, drag him out of the church, and bundle him. And the worst of it is that when he was under your custody, you now took a picture of him in a singlet. I mean, what abuse could be more than that? You cannot tell me that an outsider took that picture. Because he was in their comfort and he was in handcuff. Why should you handcuff an arrested person when he wasn't resisting arrest, or when you were not doing it to protect him? He was handcuffed. He was his shirt or top removed, and they now snapped him. So that's to tell you the end of the whole thing, just to denigrate him, just to embarrass him.
You know what we are doing here? What we are doing here is a statesman duty, because that is why this program is tagged nationalism and you. How we should culture ourselves into a viable nation builder. And building a nation encompasses all spectrum of society and things of that nature. Our police belongs to us.
Yes.
And we must protect their integrity. We must defend and protect their integrity so that they can serve us better. Their image is important to be protected so that they can serve us better. That being that, we know that in the new, what do you call him, Inspector General of Police, we have a very fine gentleman who has been carrying out some certain level of reforms and things of that nature. Nigerians have been saying, is it because we christened our Nigerian police as Nigerian Police Force? Should we remove the force out of it and put it in just Nigerian police? That they should know that they belong to us, and while serving us, they should be render services in dignity and things of that nature, as befitting their institutional legality. Your take?
My take, let me take it. When we talk about the police, their activities, I mean, it doesn't rest on us to shield any denigrating act that they are found to be doing. We should expose it, because in exposing it, they will learn lessons from it and they will take correction. Even in America and other places, you heard about Black Lives Matter. When the police, when they were shooting the blacks or whatever, they were condemned, and the police, they had to now go inside, redrafted their policies and the way they act, and today they are better. So once we talk about the police is they always have interface with the civilians. In fact, it's a daily occurrence. So the civilians must be pointing out their errors for them to take correction, because we are the police. As I said, the police cannot function without the people. So once the police has, once they have that good rapport with the citizens, you see that they will be better. So when we talk about the police, we want a good police. If not, we won't be talking about them. Whether we like it, the police we have today is a reflection of us. So if we are talking about the police, we are also talking about ourselves. Because the way the country is being, when I talk about the politicians, they are not the police, but they also help, they are not helping the police, because they are using the police sometimes to fight their fight, and it's not good. So the police is a reflection of the society. If the society is good, the police will be good. If the society is not good, the police will not be good. So to me, that's it. I know that the IG of police, they are trying their best and all these things, because sometimes you send people there to go and do something, they will do another thing. That's human nature for you. But what is their work? They should continue. They should continue hitting it hard, making sure that every person in Nigeria has that protection of his life and properties. I mean, there is nothing better we can wish than that.
Our police cannot operate independently against the political establishment. But necessarily, they must be able to draw a line between their operational legality and abuse being imposed upon some of them by politicians, using them to fight their fight. Right. How can we preclude this? How can we demarcate the line that this is the line of legality where we have to operate? And when politicians are trying to do their own and play dirty in order to use this dignified institution called police force, they should be able to draw the line. How do we achieve this?
You know, that's an interesting question. You know, some people are agitating for state police because they say that due to the insecurity we have in Nigeria, that state police will be better, will address it better than the federal police we have today. But the argument at the other side is that if you have state police, the politicians at the state level may abuse it. And sometimes I would prefer state police, but sometimes the feedbacks you get from the state, what is happening, like what we are talking about, will make you to think twice or to be edgy about the issue of state police. I believe that we will still have it one day, but maybe it will be better refined. And if you look at our constitution, you will see that the constitution says that the governor is the chief security officer of his state. But the commissioner of police is appointed by the IGP of police under the presidency. So I think the reason behind it is to make the governor not to be too powerful or to use the police to achieve his end, to exploit the police. That's why sometimes the governor will give a commissioner of police an order. The commissioner of police will seek another order from Abuja before he acts. And it can be good, because like what happened, I believe that what happened in Imo State might have had the support of the commissioner of police. But I believe that if he has sought I don't know whether he sought, but I believe that if he has sought the order of IGP might not have given the go ahead, because he is more independent to look at the situation than a commissioner of police within the political milieu of a state. So that's one of the things. Now, another thing is that the police, especially the commissioner of police in a state, must assert himself, must understand the position he's occupying, that he is a kind of a stabilizer between the government people, the pro-government and the anti-government, between the government and the opposition, between the different political forces in that state. He just a step that he just there to hold. He just a lever holding every one of them up there. So he shouldn't tilt, because tilting means the state will now go into violence. So a commissioner of police, not just knowing his duties or being abreast of his responsibility, must be a person of character to be able to maintain peace and orderliness in a state. Because whether you like it or not, politics and politicians, being what they are, will like to carry anybody to their own side, because that's part of winning the game. But a commissioner of police, being an independent person that should be apolitical, should be able to say, no, Mr. Governor, this thing is not right. No, Mr. Opposition, you should stop doing this thing. You know, that's how to maintain it. And also, a police officer down there shouldn't take every order. You cannot be sent to go and shoot somebody. You go there and shoot, and you say somebody ordered you. I mean, it's an illegality. An illegality is an illegality anyway. So even if you are taken to court for prosecution, you'll be prosecuted and be sent to jail, despite the fact that you had an order, because it is an illegal order. There are some orders that you cannot or you shouldn't obey. You have that constitutional right to disobey an illegal order. You may think, if I disobey it, they may victimize me. But if you obey it and something happens, those people that gave you the order may not be there to back you up, and you will answer to it. So I believe that it has to do with knowledge, it has to do with capacity, it has to do with integrity. Because whatever you are doing in life, whether you have the knowledge or whatever, the integrity matters most. So people that are being appointed as commissioners of police should be men of integrity. And our politicians should also imbibe that integrity. If we are building a nation, we should build a nation that even our children should be proud of. Not a nation we are building that our children will be so scared of to live in. They will neither travel abroad and live. We should build a nation that our children will, even when they are abroad, they will want to come and enjoy the society. So you should ask yourself, the society that I have now, the society in Imo State now, will my child be so happy, so comfortable to stay in it? So that's the question we should be asking ourselves.
Going forward from there, what manner of reform will you want to see in the Nigerian police relationship with the people, and what will be your last message?
A lot of reforms have been done, especially last year through the Police Establishment Act. But you know, it's one thing to do a reform, and it's one to bring out a program or an act. It's one thing to carry it out. To me, I want a police system whereby for you to be recruited into the police, they will vet you very well. Because in any organization, for you to have an outstanding organization, the means through which you take people matters most. So the vetting should be there, so that we won't have criminals as police officers. The vetting, are they qualified? Do they have the psychological stability to be police officers? The vetting, it shouldn't be where are they from, who is sending you, and all these things. The means of recruiting police officers should be the paramount thing. And merit should be their watchword in whatever they are doing. Discard merit in the way you recruit, in the way you manage the police force.
Some people have accused some segment of the police of allowing politicians to recruit their thugs into police in the past. Do you share this view?
It happens. It happens. We have had cases of police officers that were later found to be maybe ex-convict or armed robbers, or they have involved. During Obasanjo time, there was a time they were revetted. I mean, a lot was discovered during Obasanjo time, that some of them were ex-convicts, some of them were this and that, because the way you recruit people matters most. And that's why I mentioned merit. If you have merit, a politician will not have the opportunity of putting in his people into the police force. So if merit should be our watchword, then what are we talking about? Another thing is that, as I have said before, the police must have that police public relationship. I mean, it must be so cordial, it must be so smooth, because sometimes I had a police people talking about community policing and what have you, but you can't talk about community policing when the confidence is not there. So the confidence must be built. Like we see attacks here and there, it is the people that will give you the information you need to work. And whether you like it or not, we ourselves, the civilian, we must support the police, because when issues arise, you will know their importance. When you are in your house, you hear a gunshot outside in the night or whatever, you remember the police by force. No, you will remember them. You pray that they come.
Thank you very much, Mr. Obiora Eze-Nwobodo.
Thank you so
We
much.
can go on and go on and go on
That's
on this and the rest of it. And we want to say thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you.
And we hope that when we have reasons to call upon you again, you will be able to make yourself available to us.
Exactly.
Our police, we love you. We want you to work according to your established norms, ethics, and in such a way that we continue to glorify your dignified professions. You belong to us, and we are part of you. Let us work to build the nation and ensure that we do not denigrate both our government, the police institutions, and ourselves the way we carry out our duties. So, this is how we are drawing the curtain on nationalism and you for this week. And we say again, compliment of the seasons. Thank you for always keeping faith with us. And we will be seeing you in 2022. Nationalism next Thursday. That time you have migrated into the new year. Keep keeping faith with us. We appreciate you. And here from the family of ITV, we say we love you all. Enjoy your days. Observe the COVID-19 rules even as you go partying during this festive mood. Don't change the channel. The ITV have so much coming forth for you. We are always here, excitedly entertaining you, educating you, and informing you. I remain your host, Oyetakin Ebenezer.